Let's now talk about what's happening in Ukraine. A few days back, it finally managed to secure the delivery of Western tanks. But as it turns out, its weapons wish list does not end at tanks. Kiev is now asking its Western allies for warplanes, a demand that has made the Western leaders concerned. Why is that? Two reasons here. One, because they think that giving fighter jets to Ukraine could escalate this conflict further and draw them closer into the war. And two, because they are already quite stretched. They say that they have already given Ukraine too much, be it financial aid, diplomatic support, or the delivery of weapons. And some in the West are saying they have already done plenty to support Ukraine in this war. So this demand hangs in balance. America, for one, has made its stance clear. It says that it will not be sending F-16 jets to Ukraine. President Joe Biden said as much when a reporter posed this question to him. Listen to this.
Decided on a new Mr. President.
Will the United States provide F-16s to Ukraine?
No. Decided on a new Mr. President.
Will the United States provide F-16s to Ukraine?
No.
Just no, that is all that the president said. But why? That he did not say. But some American media reports have. They say that Ukraine's demand for the F-16 fighter jets is being met with skepticism by the White House. They are apparently puzzled over why Ukraine is making such a public show of asking for these jets, when in private the jets were not even mentioned on top of Ukraine's wish list of weapons. According to one such report, in recent months, American officials held various private talks with their Ukrainian counterparts. But the fighter jets did not figure high on the country's priority list. Instead, these officials were more focused on long-range missiles. America's allies in the West have come out to back these claims. Take the French president, for example, Emmanuel Macron. He recently said that he would not rule out the delivery of the warplanes to Ukraine, but he was yet to receive an official request from Ukraine to do so. And the same story with the Netherlands. The country's leader recently said that he is ready to consider Ukraine's request, but he has not received one yet. That Ukraine may be talking about this in public, but has not mentioned it in the official interactions. So how should we perceive this? Are these signs that Western support to Ukraine is waning, that Western leaders are growing tired of Ukraine's demands, its ever-growing wish list, and above everything else, are they accusing Ukraine of making a public show of such demands to gain sympathy? These are some obvious questions that come to mind. A statement by the German Chancellor answers these queries quite well. A few days ago, remember, he said the West needs to hold a serious debate on supplying weapons to Ukraine, a debate that should be based on factual issues like domestic politics. What he meant, essentially, was that Western countries should start prioritizing their people first, not the aspirations of Ukraine. Have a look at this.
What we need now is a serious debate to decide what has to be decided without creating a bidding war, in which perhaps domestic political motives are in the foreground instead of support for Ukraine. When it comes to such important things as weapons, it has to be about factual issues, about rational weighing, and that is why everything has been said about this. Let me remind you once again that right at the beginning of the war, the American president and I ruled out no-fly zones, for example, because that would have led to a direct escalation of the war between Russia and NATO. And we also rejected, for example, such nonsensical requests as ground troops. And therefore, once again, everything has been said, including by me.
This statement was made last week, and this week, the former French President François Hollande made some very interesting remarks. He said that Vladimir Putin is not mad, but just radically rational. That he's got his own reasoning and wants to function within the framework of that reasoning. How does one perceive this statement? Is the former French president trying to justify the Russian leader's actions? Is he trying to convince the West that he is not really the villain that they have declared him to be? These are questions officials in France must ask themselves. Meanwhile, the officials in Britain also have some questioning to do. Have a look at this report. It talks about how support for Ukraine is faltering in the United Kingdom, how the discourse there and the attitude towards the war has drastically changed. This report is based on a poll by YouGov. It recently asked the Britons whether the UK should increase support to Ukraine. And guess what? Only a quarter of Britons were in favor of increasing support to Kiev. A quarter. My point is quite simple. From Biden saying no to Ukraine's request for fighter jets, to European leaders asking Ukraine to file an official request, to the German Chancellor asking the West to prioritize domestic issues, to the former French president calling Vladimir Putin rational, and now British citizens voting against increasing funds to Ukraine. There seems to be a recalibration of sorts going on in the West. A recalibration which revolves around one question: how long can the West sustain its support to Volodymyr Zelensky? WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.